Thank you. Good morning. My name is Julia Elmaleh-Sachs, and I'm a plaintiff side employment attorney at Crumiller P.C. In December 2021, I sat before the New York City Council to testify in support of the latest salary transparency bill, which was later signed into law with broad support from plaintiffs' attorneys and other workers' advocates. It requires employers in New York City with 4 or more employees to post the minimum and maximum salary when advertising a job, promotion, or transfer opportunity. Its purpose is crystal clear: to close the wage gap for women and people of color by promoting transparency around hiring and compensation. Today, I sit before this City Council once again to testify on behalf of NELA-NY, the New York affiliate of the National Employment Lawyers Association, working with PowHer New York. And to be frank, I am disturbed. Disturbed that this City Council is considering walking back the city's salary transparency law, a law that represents a historic win for workers in the fight against workplace discrimination before it has even taken effect. The amendments proposed today not only undermine the purpose of the law by creating exemptions for wide swaths of employers across the 5 boroughs, it perpetuates systemic inequities against the very people who were meant to benefit from this law: women and people of color. As attorneys for employees, we frequently represent workers who are subjected to all kinds of discriminatory abuse by their supervisors. This misconduct sometimes includes wage discrimination. Too often, women and people of color are paid less than their colleagues who are performing substantially similar work. This is nothing new. For years, workers' rights activists have used the hashtag Equal Pay Day to call attention to the wage gap. In 2022, women in the U.S. earned just 83 cents on the dollar compared to men on average, according to the National Committee on Pay Equity. The figures are even more bleak for women of color: 75 cents for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander women, 58 cents for Black women, 50 cents for Indigenous women, and just 49 cents for Latino women. New York City's salary transparency law aims to shrink these wage gaps by requiring employers to be more transparent around compensation. But Intro 134 threatens to set a dangerous precedent for those seeking to chip away at the anti-discrimination protections afforded by the city's human rights law. First, the bill limits the definition of employer to include only those with 15 or more employees, a significant departure from the original threshold of 4 or more employees. As many today will explain in greater detail, this carve-out for certain small businesses risks opening Pandora's box for corporate interests to create additional loopholes that would help companies avoid compliance with the city's anti-discrimination law. In addition,
Elmaleh-Sachs, time's expired.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Question.
Sure.
Yeah, so can you, and this is for anybody that was on that panel, can you explain how this would prevent pay equity?
Absolutely. Many of the city's employers have 14 or less employees, and by not being required to post salary ranges, those employees that may apply to those jobs will not know what their counterparts are making. So that's one of the ways that it would not promote salary transparency and equity. And another way, which I was about to speak of when my time ran out, is that the exception for remote work is a really big exception. Now with the pandemic, so many of us, as you know, are working remotely, and an employer could say that their job posting prefers in-person work or remote work, which would allow them to not post the salary range. So all of those potential employees that might apply to that job will not know what the salary range, will not know what their male counterparts or white counterparts might be making at work for those jobs.
I don't, and maybe committee counsel, if I'm wrong, please chime in, but I don't think that this bill actually gets to one of the roots that you're talking about in terms of knowing what you just said, white counterparts. And I don't think the bill, there's no way to know what a white person is making at a company through the salary ranges being on a job description. unless we're doing something else. Because how would you know unless a company is completely disclosing all of the salaries, which this bill does not do. This bill is focused on job descriptions. And I understand what you're saying. And I actually think that is like the larger issue when you actually get into a company and like actually seeing what the salaries are. This bill is in reference to job descriptions. So if you could share like how one would ascertain what the different salaries are within a company through this legislation, because that I don't understand that point.
I'm happy to respond, but I'm also happy to allow others who have their hands raised to respond.
Sorry, you can't unmute Andrea.
Thank you so much, Chair, for that question. So there has been research showing that in negotiations, it is common for wage gaps to arise at that point because a few factors. One being that women tend to ask for less than men, even when equally qualified. And I think there's sort of internalized bias that is at play there. But research does show that when women have the context about a negotiation, what is negotiable in the salary range for that position, that information helps close those wage gaps. And I can include citations to that in my written testimony to show that. So this is a major tool that has been identified by the equal pay community as crucial to closing gender and racial wage gaps that otherwise arise in negotiations.
Well, I understand that part, but the comment that was made was that we would be able to see what our counterparts are making, right? So if the focus is women, because I think the focus seems to just be women. I know people of color being tossed in and out of the conversation, but it seems the focus seems to be women, which I understand. And the comment was that we would be able to see what other people are making, and I don't really understand how we would be able to see what people are making if this is specific to the job description. There's no way to see what people are making internally. And that was the comment that Julia, I believe you made.
Can I respond?
Sure.
Thank you, Chair Williams. I believe the law as it stands right now also applies to promotions and transfers. So that would, for people who are already working at a company and would like to have a promotion or a transfer opportunity, that would apply to their counterparts that are, already at that promotion level as well. They would at least know a salary range.